Hey everybody, Andy here, and this has got nothing, absolutely nothing to do with stocks, with Iraq, with dinar, none of that stuff. I had told people I would tell this story, and I've put it off and put it off, and I get bugged, and I just had somebody talking about it in Facebook. I thought, I got to do this. I've promised I would. And believe it or not, there's a few people that want to know this crazy, crazy story. Don't judge me, okay? This is real. It happened. And it most definitely confirmed my faith. And I can tell you, way back when, there was always this battle of believing, not believing, questioning, and all sorts of stuff. And this from this happening through today, I've never questioned anybody's faith. I've never questioned whether or not God existed. And I have never questioned somebody that talks about ghosts, spirits, whatever you want to call it. And I'm going to tell you why. Early in I was running a store. I'm 20. I was probably 20. Well, I'd been doing it since I was out of high school, pretty much. But I was actually running a big old gas station, convenience store thing in Plano, Texas, and it was not a 7-Eleven, but this place was on a massive corner, just busy, busy. It was owned by Southland Corporation, who at the time owned 7-Eleven stores. I don't even remember the name of this place, but anyway, I ran it, and I would be called to manager meetings and do things with actual 7-Eleven employees, and I could get product if I was running out of something. I could call one of the stores in the area and get. So I got to know a manager of a 7-Eleven really well, and was told that they were having a goodbye party for her. And come to find out that her husband worked for the Postal Service and he was from Hawaii, so they were moving home. They were going back to Maui. Okay, well, good luck, and it was fun. I got to know her somewhat well, and at this going away party, I said something to her early on. I said, my wife has just always dreamed of going to Hawaii. Don't know if I'll ever be able to take her. We just had a little conversation. And later that evening, she tosses me a keychain. And I look at that keychain. I said, what is this? She said, dream about it. Okay. And she came back a while later and she said, I've watched your work ethic. I've watched what you've done to that store. I've watched a lot, and I've actually been talking about you with the owners. Okay. She said, I want you to consider. She said, I've already got a job when I get back there, and I'm going to be running a store. He has, I believe at the time he had 2 stores. He was building a third, and he was going to build a total of 9 on Maui before he branched out to the other areas. So he was going to build 9 stores on that island, and he was going to be looking for a supervisor for the chain, but that lived on Maui, stayed there, and they would go back and forth to the other islands once the other stores got built. But 9 on that island that I think you could do very well running and managing that chain of stores. It's like, wow, I didn't know anybody noticed. I just worked. So I said, well, that'd be pretty awesome. And she said, well, like I said, dream about it, and I'm going to be in touch with you as soon as I get over there and get things set up. I was thinking, well, could this really be happening? I mean, am I going to go to Hawaii? So I thought, nah. I just sort of blew it off. I went home, and my wife had gotten home from work, and I when it the keychain, when I saw it, I didn't understand what it was. Of course, I tossed it to her. I said, I got something at the party, and she said, what is this? I said, well, it's something you're supposed to dream about. Okay. And I said, it's Hawaii. I said, it's premature, but there's a chance we could be moving there. I said, they might want me to run a chain of stores over there. Uh huh. Okay. So we went on about life. About 3 weeks to a month later, this girl calls me. She says they've gotten settled in. Everything is going great. And had I considered her proposal? I said, well, you mentioned Hawaii. You didn't, I mean, I didn't really take it that serious. And she said, no, I've talked to the owners. She said, there's one here. She said, he owns all of the gas stations. There's no gas sold on the island that he doesn't own. And so he's just wanting to put in stores and build this up and do something good with it. And the other owner is in, I believe he was in San Francisco, and they've both approved just on my word. And they want you to come out here. And since they're building the third store now, they're going to start the fourth in a couple of months. And we want you to get acclimated to everything out here. So what you'd do is you'd work with me for a while and just look how everything operates and get an idea. She said, you'll come here just as a worker, but knowing that you're going into that. And I said, well, back then it paid, you could make $7 or $8 an hour as just somebody who works at a store. And I'm not moving to Hawaii for $7 or $8 an hour. So we negotiated my earnings. And so we decided, adventure of a lifetime. So Hawaii, here we come. So I get to Hawaii. We stayed in a hotel for a couple of weeks while we found a place and got a car and we sold everything we had. I shipped a bunch of boxes to her to hold for me until I got there. So we had to buy everything once we got there, do everything from scratch. And I started working with her. And the store that she was operating was the original one that was built. They had built another one in Pukalani, I believe. Anyway, her store it was on a big corner coming right out of the airport, the main airport on Maui, out of Kahului. You came out and there was a big shopping center, and her store was the corner anchor of this big old shopping center with a gas station out to the front. And it had a upstairs, you just walked up these stairs, it was almost like a loft, but it was an office up there. And I started working, learning, buying, learning who where you got all your merchandise. I was learning it all and already could see many, many changes I needed to make. But she would come down frustrated. And I, what's going on? You need to talk about it. And she said, I'm just sick of her. You're sick of who? She said, you probably haven't seen her yet. I said, well, till you give me a little more, I don't know. She said, we have a spirit here, and she's constantly trying to knock me down the stairs. And she said sometimes she will not get out of my way. Okay. This is the first time. I'm 24 years old, 25 years old, and thinking, I got suckered in by a nut job. Okay, so tell her if you need some help, I'll come help you, and we'll have a talk with her, and I just played it off as she's a nut job, and she actually got knocked down. There was something, she fell from like the second or third step one day, And she's just crying. She said, I don't know how much more I can take of this. I just don't know how much more I can take. She's not happy with me being here. She doesn't want me here. Okay, when are they going to get those other stores built? I got to get out of this nut job's place. And so they've got the third store built, and things are moving along. I think they still hadn't built the fourth store. They hadn't even started. And but yeah, early on she said and did things. It's just like, and something had happened, and they were putting off building the stores, and it was just like, I was going to get a commission on the sales of all the stores, you know. As it was, I'm just a worker, and I'm still getting an amazing salary, and I'm getting a bonus based on sales and all that, but it wasn't 9 stores. And so I just, okay. They had an issue with the manager and asked, will you go ahead and just run this until we do get squared away and we get the other stores built? Okay. So I was already living kind of between Kahului and Wailuku. This store was in Wailuku, and it was, and let me go ahead and show you what the store, where I lived, and the route to the store and all that. Okay, so I actually lived right in here, and the place that we lived, I guess, is no longer there because most of these all look a little bit different now. So it is close in proximity, but I just don't remember the exact location. But it was right here. You just have to drive up in between, and there was an apartment sitting there. And so we drove out, drove down the street, came over here, came around to Lower Main to this spot right here. That was my trek every day. So barely over half a mile. And that would get me to the store. But there's a reason why I'm showing it's so close. And this was the store that I ran when most of this happened. Now mind you, this curb here, this went back this away out here somewhere. This building was not there, but there was no way to get through here. It was there was a high wall or something there, but right in here there were 2 little gas pumps. So the only way to get gas was to pull in here. You could go on either side, but you had to drive around the pump to go back out. Okay, it's very important to know when you're listening to this crazy story that I've got for you. But anyway, this was the store. It's something else now, of course, 35 years later. But anyway, this will set it up for you. When you walked into the doors on this side, there was a counter right here that went from the front to the back of the store, or toward the back of the store. On the back side of this right here on the inside had a 4-foot by 8-foot one-way mirror. And this was an observation room where you could watch for shoplifters, watch your clerks, or watch anything else. You had to go around the back here and in through a back door. On the back side of this counter, about 2/3 of the way down, was an office. That was my office. And then you came out of there, to the left was your counter and your cash register. Immediately in front of you was a deli set up. Served all kinds of meats and salads and things like that, pastas. And then to the immediate left of that was your kitchen area, where we had our deep fryers and all that set up, cooking tables. If you walk right around the corner in the back, out away from the cooking area, there was a big 3-bay sink and other things on the back side that was not open to the public. It was on the back side, the back wall. This right here is the cooler area that ran from front to back. Had a big cooler and where we stored all the sodas, the beer, the juices, milks, all the refrigerated stuff were indoors all the way down this wall right here. Inside, you can barely see it here, but there were 2 shelves running parallel here to the store. Just in from the counter, it started, it went down, and there were 2 of those. So there were actually, and then you had your back wall back here. So you had 2 shelving units and then your back wall. So there were actually 5 places where we could store product and have it out there for sale, along with the end caps and everything else. Okay, so that's kind of a layout of the store. Remember, you could only go in one way. There's one way in, one way out. And we had the 2 gas pumps right here where you could go in and hit either side of your car depending on where the gas was, but it had just 2 small pumps side by side right here and no way out right here. I don't remember exactly what it was, but there was a wall of some kind that was built up. I think it sloped way down. You can kind of see a slope here, but it sloped way down, and that was some sort of a retaining wall at the time. Okay, so you see the store. Nothing fancy by any stretch. Back then it was new. It was a lot bigger than it looks now. But I start working there, and I've got a few employees. One, after a while, I had a lady that worked nights. And I hired her daughter. She was 15. And she just worked 2 or 3, sometimes 4 hours in the evenings occasionally, not all the time. And she was just a part-time worker to help out during kind of the rush in the evenings. Okay, I had a cook, and I had, typically during the day, I had 2 people, registers and things like that, plus the cook. In the evenings, I had 2 people. I don't think I had a cook. One of them kind of did both, but we didn't. Our food, most of the time, was, and you can see it's right there by the water, so it's a tourist, more of a tourist, I think, attraction than locals. But so we didn't need all the food at night. I don't remember exactly now, but I had about 12, 14 people at any given time working there. But this woman and her daughter, the husband would pick him up, take him home, pick him up, take him home. So I saw him quite often, but when I saw him, it was, hey, how you doing? Good to see ya. Boom, boom, boom. Never took the time to have a long conversation with him. Because when I worked, I was working. I worked hard. My thing was, when I walked into my store, it better be front and faced. And, you know, the product had to be labels out on the edge of the shelf. Everything needed to be stocked that could be stocked. And I was very concerned on the looks of the store. So I always walked in my door, went down the front between the window, what you saw there, the window and the first shelving. I looked at all that, made sure everything was good. Came up the middle and around on the back side, make sure everything was fronted and faced. Most of the time it took just a couple of minutes to do. That was my habit, no matter what I did when I walked in. So I was hearing stories from a couple of the people that work nights, and one was big on the spirits there and about hauling meat for, say, luau's or whatever, but when they haul meat and troubles that she would have, the horses that rode through her apartment because of this reason or that reason. And I listened to it and thought, that's cute. You know, it's some people's imaginations are just wild. And one day, this 15-year-old girl comes in. I hadn't left yet, and she's really upset. She's just distraught, and I'm trying to find out what's going on with her. She's just a kid, and she said, "I'm in trouble." I said, "Oh, what'd you do?" She said, "I smoked a cigarette." Okay, I mean, in the whole scheme of things, you don't want a kid to start, but they, you don't have to fret like this over it. I said, "Just one." I said, "You're not hooked, or you're not." No, no, but I'm going to have to listen to this so much when I get home. And she just went on and on. She was truly almost traumatized with this. And I said, "Well, who busted you? I mean, how, did the principal or teacher or who?" Said, "No, nobody caught me. He just knows." Okay, who just knows? Said, "My dad. He knows everything. I'm just so I'm." She was so frightened. I think this was a mountain of a long time of what she was going through, and it was just all bottled up. She was just releasing. She was venting. And I said, "Really? Is it that big a deal?" She said, "Oh, I just get so sick of him asking me, why did you tell somebody this? Why did you tell somebody that?" And I said, "Well, somebody needs to learn to keep their mouth shut. Sounds like somebody's feeding him too much information." She said, "It's not that. He sees it. He already knows." And I said, "What do you mean he sees it?" She said, "He's a healer. And he knows everything I do, everywhere I go." I mean, almost in tears, she's telling me all this. And she said, "I knew I shouldn't do it. I knew it, but I did it. And now I'm going to have to listen to him about it." And I said, "I think you might be overreacting a little." She said, "No, no, no." And she starts telling me stories that just made the hair on the back of your neck stand up. It was just chilling. And I'm thinking, this girl has got a wild imagination. And maybe she's just not quite all there, but, her mama works there. Her mom seemed great. Super, super sweet lady. And said, okay. And he comes in when it was time for her to go, and he takes her home. And didn't hear anything more about that for a while. But it came to the point that I realized after a little over a year that they were not going to be building the stores. They weren't going to be as big. I was never going to make the kind of money I thought I was going to make, that the opportunity wasn't really there. I mean, I was doing okay, but not what I wanted to make, and certainly not, I wasn't going to work at a convenience store for the rest of my life. So we had decided, and we missed home. There was no internet back then. There was no nothing. And we're talking 1985 and into 1986. So after a lot of discussion, we realized that either I'm going to do something else there and get some sort of a career going, or I just didn't know what I was going to do. And I was looking in the paper, and I thought they wanted a property manager. They wanted something, and it was on a resort property or something. And we decided to go look. It provided the housing. I didn't really. I loved the apartment as far as the view, because we could sit in our kitchen dining thing, and we could see the cruise ships when they came in and all that. But I think I wanted away from, because I was right there at the store, and I was at the store or there, it seemed like all the time. And we decided, hey, this could lead into something else, so I can talk to them about it. I scheduled an appointment or an interview with them, and we were driving down the road. And I'm driving. On this side is beach and ocean. And I'm driving along, and there's just condos and all this and the signs, and I'm not sure exactly what I'm looking for. I knew the name of the place. So I'm walking around, and I'm looking, and I'm And I'm thinking that I see it. And I'm back turned this away. And my wife goes, just this real loud, heavy gasp. And I turned. I mean, there was nothing in front of me. There were no cars coming. There's nothing behind me. It was a very light day traffic-wise. And there's a little old lady. I slammed my brakes. And I came to a stop. I mean, just an inch or two. How I didn't hit her, God was watching out for me. That's all I was thinking. And, or for her, she didn't look in my direction. And I was just like, I wanted to say, I'm so sorry. I didn't faze her. She just walked on across. And I'm looking for her to look back and give me one of those looks. So I can say, I'm sorry. And nothing. So I catch my breath. We go on. I'm looking in the rear view just to see. There's nobody there. Nobody. I didn't imagine it. My wife saw it too. So it's like, that was weird. Okay. Now I have this girl talking about this. I have these people telling me about these spirits. And we decided, yeah, things are just not going to work out here. Let's plan on going home. We'll plan on leaving out in March. And this was in December, early January. Already been there a little over a year. And something happened. I had 2 overnight people, and for whatever reason, both of them, I mean, I was just like, oh, God, okay. So I got my work done during the day, probably about 6 or so. I get home. I got to go back in at 11. I got to work the overnight shift. I'd never done it before. And there we made fresh foods in the mornings, donuts, and all kinds of stuff. So I was learning that throughout the day before, the day of that I had to work overnight. So I'm getting all that figured out, making sure I understand the right order of things. And I never really paid a lot of attention. I just made sure it was all done, but I never watched the entire process because I didn't have to worry about it. I got up, went in about 10:30. It might have been a little before 10:30. And I go in and my 2 people are there. Sherry, the girl, had already gone home. Oh, I shouldn't have said her name. But the 15-year-old had already gone home. So these 2 were sitting there and they looked strange. And about the time I go to say, what's going on? When you open the 2 front doors, either door, if you walk into any convenience store and a lot of other stores, but you'll hear a doorbell type thing go off, a beep, 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 or something. So I turned to look and see who was coming in the store. There was nobody there. And they said, it's been going on all night. I said, what are you talking about? She said, they're here. Who's here? She said, you'll see. Okay, I don't like the sounds of that. Who's here? And I look around and I said, somebody in the back? And they kind of looked at each other and giggled and said, no, don't worry about it. But about the 3rd time the door goes off, the chime on the door went off. And I thought, well, okay, there's something I need to get fixed. I need to look into that. And I'll try, see if sometime overnight I have time to get out there and find a short or whatever it was. And they said, there's nothing wrong with the doors. I said, well, obviously there is something wrong with it. So they just said, can we go ahead and go? This has been exhausting. Can we go ahead and go? She said, we're just done with them. We don't want to be around them tonight. And they just go on, and I'm not picking up. I mean, I didn't understand what they were saying. So it's like, I'm here, go. Go ahead and clock out. Go home. So I am doing something right around the corner from the kitchen. And I hear what sounded like two or three kids. And, the buzzer went off, and I hear the kids, and I'm, okay, well, at least this time it's not crazy because I can hear people now. So, and it sounded like the kids were chasing each other or something. They were rambunctious. So I did whatever it was I was doing back there by the sink, and I came around. There's nobody in my store. Gosh, see, when I tell this without thinking about it first, I got to back up. Okay, when I got there, as I'm fronting and facing the shelves, and I went through that process, okay? I would just want to make sure you understand that I did do that. I didn't hear, I heard that, okay, so I hear all this noise, and I go out, and there's nobody there. I thought, God, I'm tired. This is weird. Okay, I need something to drink. So I go out. The counter went all the way, but it was a flop door kind of in the middle. You flop it back. You can walk down the aisle, you kind of jog, but you go straight down the aisle, and you got all your windows back there, and you get your drink. You turn around and come back. Grab my drink, turn around, and I'm looking at the floor in front of me. That's just not possible. And in the middle aisle, you had your two aisles in your wall. Anyway, on those two aisles, one of them was a magazine rack that kind of slit, it angled from bottom to the top, and you had all these little slits with all these different magazines. The border to hold them was about this high, so when they're in their slots, they don't just fall out. But not only were the magazines on the floor, there was two. Not only were they on the floor, they were on this other side of this aisle. And I mean, the store doesn't look that big, but they were wide aisles. Probably close to I would say 3.5 feet apart, maybe 4 feet. I'm not real sure. I don't think I ever measured. But anyway, I mean, it was a good wide distance. And two people could actually walk pretty much side by side between these aisles. And they're on the other side of the aisle. Not only would I not have missed it when I front and faced, because if I see a straw piece of paper, straw paper, I'll pick that up. I mean, I look for things like that. So I hold it up. I get down there where the magazine rack is, and I hold it on the top of the rack itself, and I just let it fall. And it would fall. It would fall every time, of course. I had nothing to hold it. But it would fall right here, not over there across the aisle. Okay. That's weird. I blew it off. These kids, I just blew it off, thinking, okay, man, I might be more tired than I thought. But I did get like 2 or 3 hours sleep, which was more than enough for me at that age. Okay, so I get busy. I thought, there's some things that really could use cleaning. There's this. I've been wanting to get this done. I thought overnight, not a busy place. So at night. So here's my chance to really get a lot done and show them what can be done overnight. Of course, the lady that was working for me was quite a bit older, and I didn't expect them to have the same energy this 25-year-old did, but I could get a lot done. All right, then I hear somebody comes in, they got that real hacking cough. I mean, just on and on and on. It's like, gross, mister. Okay, so I go and I look out. There's nobody in my store. That's just really weird. Blow it off, go about my business. And I hear the buzzer again. It's like, okay. I'm tired of this. And I hear, hello? Hello? And I thought, it's really a person. They don't like walking in here and not seeing somebody behind the counter. So this is real. I thought, or is it? So I come around the corner and I'm looking. I thought, okay, this is nuts. And right about that time, right here, right above my head, I hear the most disgusting laugh that I've ever heard in my life. I just a wail of a laugh, and I jerk around. Of course, there's nothing there. Now I'm scared. It's like, what's going on? How can somebody pull this off? I mean, so many thoughts are flying through my head, and you got your counter out here, and I'm leaning against the door to my office, and the door's here, and I'm leaning against this side, and I kind of look into my office. Well, I had my desk right inside the door, and then there was another part of the desk over here that had a monitor, and yeah, I think we had 4 cameras, but you could turn the thing. It wasn't like it is today, but you could turn the switches and see the different cameras. And it was the one over the 2 cash registers. And I'm watching that, and I'm watching this light do this number across the monitor. And I'm just sitting there watching it. It's just weird. I mean, because I've watched this for hours. And, oh boy. So, about that time, I'm looking out the front window, and I see a car pull in. And it turns like it's going towards the gas pumps. And I thought, it's a customer. I'm just so glad to have somebody here. So I went up, was going to go ahead and turn the pump on for him. You know, it was a prepay type thing even back then. But I looked to see which of the 2 pumps they were on to turn it on. There's no car. Okay. Now, I'm thinking, wait a minute. What is that noise? And I could just hear just faint, really, really faint. So I'm trying to figure out. So I start walking toward the back of the building, and I can hear it. So I walk down the back wall, back toward the coolers, and I hear the coolers. I mean, I hear that it's something coming from inside the cooler. I thought, okay, a fan. Something is misfiring, or I don't know what was going on. I open the cooler door. Not thinking anything of it. Now, when you go into any store that sells single drinks and you see your shelves are like this, you pull one out, everything falls for the weight. It's at an angle. Okay? I was watching bottles, and back then a big chunk of this stuff was glass. Wasn't near as the plastic that there is today. And I'm watching bottles fall over the backside of the shelves. Just one way down there, one right up here, another one down a little ways. And I'm just looking in awe. How are bottles jumping off the back of this rack at this high end? They're just going off the back of it. And that was what I was hearing, was the bottles shattering when they hit the concrete floor. Oh my God. Now this has gone to full-fledged crazy. I slammed the door shut. I run back up front. And I'm looking around thinking, do I just close? I should just close. I can't handle this. Now, granted, we weren't real busy, but it stayed steady all night. This is probably within the first hour to hour and a half. Okay, I got to shake this off. It's me. I'm tired. Let's get some work done. So I thought, well, number one, I got to go clean all this mess up in the back. As I walked by, on the back wall, just outside the cooking area, you had a great big stainless steel 3-bay sink. And as I'm almost approaching it, the water came on full blast. The hot plumbing problems too. As I reached to turn it off, it stopped. Okay. Pretty par for what I'm seeing happening. All right. Okay. I take a step, it came back on. Nope. This is not happening. It did that 3 times. Okay, Andy. You're nuts. You've just completely lost it. You're not all there anymore. I get some of the stuff in the back. That stopped. All the bottles falling off the back. I got most of that cleaned up. And I can't remember what all I'm doing. I know more things happened. I went back out to the front, and on the back wall for the customers, that wall there, one of the areas we had all of our breads and rolls, things like that, and there was 2 of those in the floor. I mean, they've got a lipped rack, and the bread sits against this. It just doesn't slide off. But there was 2 or 3 different things like that were happening, and I thought, I'm not going to be this little coward that runs. Something's going on. I don't really understand, but I'm not running away from this. I'm going to get my store ready. And hadn't had a real customer all night, and which was highly unusual. I mean, they didn't do a lot, but like I said, it stayed fairly steady throughout the night. Not one person. Well, it's 3:30, close to 4 o'clock in the morning, and getting to the point where I got to start getting the donuts, getting everything set up, all the breakfast foods and things that we prepared, and just about to start on the donuts, and I see a car pull in, and I'm just staring at it, thinking, yeah, another something there that's not there. And I'm looking at it, and it's a cop car. Okay. Guy gets out, walks in. How's it going? I'm just staring at him as he walks in, and he says something else to me, and I'm just like, "You're not even real. Quit acting like you're real." And he sort of chuckled. And then he said something. I said, "I don't even know why I'm wasting my time with you. I got things to do." He said, "You had a bad night, have you?" I said, "You don't even have a clue." I mean, I'm to the point where I know I'm nuts. I know I have completely lost it. No way out of it. I'm crazy. I'm going to the loony bin. It was a nice life. I've enjoyed my life so far. Okay. He said, "Yeah." He said, "I tried to tell him. They needed to get this store blessed, and they just ignored me." I said, "Oh, yeah, really? Uh-huh." And to me, he's not there. It's not even a real person. I said, "Oh, okay." He said, "You've had some run-ins with your spirits, haven't you?" And I said, "A couple." "Yeah." I said, "And I'm dealing with one now." And he laughed again. He said, I can't tell you I'm real." He said, "If you can't see it," he said, I'm not here to try to prove anything to you." He said, "I'm just here for a cup of coffee." And I said, "Well, you enjoy that coffee." And I said, "I'll enjoy the rest of my night." And it was a conversation that went back and forth like that. But he said, "Hey, you know, they did finally get this store blessed. So I'm not sure what you're dealing with, but yeah," he said they came across something. I can't even remember now how he explained it, but it was like, "Oh, okay, good, yeah, bye bye, your vision." I didn't know what it was, but to me, it wasn't real. So okay, it's time to make donuts. Got donuts made, putting a topping on them, putting like chocolate on donuts, and it was the before you walk around the corner. It was you had your deli, but on the back side where the customers didn't see it, you had this little wall right here on the inside corner, and that's where we had a big microwave, and it kind of extended out. So I had my a tray, my icing and stuff. So I'm here. I'm just whipping on, fixing my donuts, and there was this little old bug, something crawling up. Wasn't a roach or anything, just some little bug crawling up the wall there. And I'm thinking, boy, if he fell, I'm the type that if he had fallen into my icing, I would have thrown the whole bucket out. So it was just like, get out of here. Don't you get in my stuff. Right here again. That laugh. Whatever I had in my hands, I dropped it as I turned around to see. Of course, there's nobody there. Now, I see how they felt that they wanted out of there. I wanted out so bad I could not stand it. And but I marched on, got everything done. Several other things happened over the course of the next few hours. When my day people got there, I got my reports. I did a minimum what I had to do, and I said, "I'm out of here. I'm gone." And I left. And I thought, man, I am never working overnight in this scary place again. Never, never, never. Now, I had been in that window in the back part. I think I just explained to y'all when I was showing you the pictures. I'd been in that observation area. That's where we kept all our cameras, our recorders, and things like that. And I'd been back there a bunch at night watching and caught several thieves that way. So I spent a lot of time up there at night. I just hadn't worked by myself at night. I thought, man, I don't ever want to have to do this again. All right, we come to a point where, things just went on, nothing happening. And I'm at work one day. We decided, I thought, okay, I'm leaving in a little over 3 weeks. We'd set everything up. Or talked to the owner. Everything was arranged. We were going to start shipping cartons back over here of our possessions. And I said, well, I got to let my employees know. So we didn't know who they were going to put in my place or anything else. Decided we'll have a meeting, and I'll let everybody know. Set up a meeting for 7 o'clock that night. Well, that morning when I got there, my cook is cooking, and of course, he's in a fryer, and just right here is the door into my office, and I could, if I would look, I could just see him working, and greatest guy in the world, quiet, obedient, never challenged, never questioned. If I said, grab you a toothbrush and clean this right here, he's the type that would say, yes, sir, and he would just do it. Just such a good guy. Just all around awesome individual. But he was frying something up. He goes, Andy, can I ask you a question? I said, sure. He said, what's a seance? Dude, you're older than me. I said, seriously, you don't know what a seance is? He said, I really don't. He said, I've never heard that word before. I said, it's where you get together and you call spirits and you get them to do stuff. I said, but it's something to do with calling spirits is all I know for sure. And, we'd done it as a kid, but, I don't know exactly what it is or what it meant, what it was supposed to do. But I gave him the gist of. He went, okay. Wow. Okay. So I get back to work. I worked and worked and just worked right up to the time. All the employees are there, and in this back area, in the corner, but behind the counter, I had the two girls that were working register, and they would stop and listen to what was going on. But in the main corner, I mean, I pulled out my office chair, and I'm sitting in the middle of the room. And I had one girl that was leaning up against my office door, and then a couple more over here. The mom and daughter, the one that talked about her dad being a healer, they were two sitting on a bench in the corner. And then there were people kind of spotty. Anyway, there were like 10 people just pretty close proximity in the store or in that corner. So I'm telling and sadly, I loved the island. I just my experience there had been awesome, and I was just so looking forward to going home. I missed home. I missed the people. We didn't have video chat or any of that stuff back then, so it was either letters or an expensive phone call. And I said I miss my parents. I miss my brothers and sister. I said I miss all my family, and it's just time to go home. I said this didn't prove to be what it was supposed to be, and it was a great experience. But yeah, we're going home. So I brought up several other things, and we talked for a bit. And I said, well, that's really all I got. So not quite half went home, or they all left, and I'm sitting there, and we're just talking now, and I'm sitting in my chair and talking to the mother daughter and my evening girl, and there was somebody else over here. I was explaining something to him, and all of a sudden, from about here down to my elbow, from this area right here, something just hit so hard, and I was at an angle where I couldn't turn, but whatever it was is pushing me, and I'm trying to push back. It's like, you're not pushing me out of my chair. No, I'm pushing with everything I got. I am pushing, and the only two I could see are the mom and daughter. They have now stood up on the bench, and they're holding each other, screaming. I don't even know what they're saying because I'm concentrating on whatever this is, whoever. My thought was, why are you doing this? And why? I couldn't turn my head. I couldn't turn, but I was pushing against. And finally, after what seemed forever, probably wasn't even a minute, it released, and I almost fell out. I caught myself on the floor, my hand on the floor, to not fall out of this chair. It wore me out. Just a, give me a sec. I feel the sharpest pain across my face, over and over and over. Now they're just the fear in their eyes, and I'm thinking, what is going on? And I was able to turn enough, or maybe when I got back up, I swiveled in my chair enough to see the girl sitting or leaning against my office door. And she's just going, oh my God, oh my God, oh dear God, oh God, oh God. I'm just over and over and over. And I can't get enough words out to say anything. And it finally stopped. I'm so nervous at this point. And I look around to see, okay, how are y'all doing all this to me? How? What is happening? And they started to calm down a little bit. I said, it's over. Whatever was going on. And I turned to her, and she goes, I could see finger marks in your face. I could see fingers. I said, it felt like I was getting the slapped out of me. That's what it felt like. Now, this happened probably within 5 minutes after the meeting. Okay, when some of them left, and of course now everybody's trying to go. So I thought, y'all, I'm sorry, I'm out of this place. And I got up, I went home, I showed you. In traffic, it might take me 2 minutes to get home. I get home and I go in. My wife said, "What is wrong with you?" I said, "Oh, you're not going to sit down. Have I got a story for you?" And I told her about this first thing that happened, and that was weeks before. Okay, she signed on to the he's a little bit crazy kind of thing, but it just wandered off. Nothing else ever happened. So I'm in the middle of explaining this to her, and the phone rings, and she's on this side, and the phone is on the other side of her, and she goes, "Yeah, he's right here." She hands me the phone. She says it's my cook, and he sounds weird. I said, "Yeah." He said, "Hey, what happened to you after I left?" I said, "Oh man." I said, "You ain't gonna believe it." I said, "No, but I'll tell you about it in the morning." "No, you'll tell me now." This dude ain't never even come close to raising his voice at me. I said, "Derek." I said, "Well, after y'all..." "No, no, no, no. I got to hear it. Where it happened." "What?" He said, "You got to get back to the store." "Okay." So, all right. I said, I'll go back to the store. I told my wife, I said, "I don't know what else is going to happen here tonight, but I know you don't believe me, but you're going to go with me. You're going to witness something here. I don't know what." So we head back to the store. The other 2 minutes. As I walk into the store, I think she was in front of me, and she just wandered off into the store. As I walk in, 2 steps in is the 15-year-old and the woman that worked overnight. Her husband is there. And I'm thinking, and he goes, "Andy?" And he sticks his hand out to shake my hand. And first thing I thought was, dude, I ain't got time for this. I don't, for our first real conversation, this is not the time. I got stuff going on. But so I reached out and I went to shake his hand, and he grabbed. And he said, "Andy," he said, "I don't know what you've heard about me." He said, "But there's not a thing about you that I don't know." And I thought, well, that could be embarrassing. And he said, "I'm not." He said, "Well, let me tell you this." And he goes into some detailed things about my life that you just don't spread to other people. You don't tell them about it. It's not a monumental event. It's nothing that you really even remember until you have that recall memory. "Yeah, I remember that guy," or "I remember her," or I went there. Nobody knew that I went there. Whatever. But all these things, and it's been 35 years, so I don't remember most of them. But while he's telling me, I'm thinking, holy cow, how could one person, there's no way somebody is setting this up. Nobody could know those details. For one, some of this stuff I had never even told a soul. It just wasn't a big deal, or at the time, it was something I wanted to forget about, or whatever it was. And he went on and on and on. And, you had a friend for just a little bit, this guy, and y'all did this and this together. So the things that he could have known, there's no way even my wife knew. I mean, it was just, I don't know how to explain it other than it's impossible for him to just been able to set me up and have this person tell him this or this person tell him that. He went over a number of years, locations, pointed out things. I mean, he was very quick but thorough in his explanation, which now I'm just dumbfounded. I'm thinking, okay, why is he telling me this? I got to go meet my cook and explain to him what happened. Why now? Why do you want to have this conversation? And so many thoughts are going through my head at the moment. And when he finally stops, he goes, okay, and he's still got a hold of my hand. He goes, I'm not telling you this to scare you. I'm thinking, well, too late. I'm petrified. He said, you're about to go into your office. And I'm thinking, well, how do you know I'm going into my office? He goes, one thing you have got to understand. He said, you're in a tornado. And you know how it comes to that point? He said, Andy, you're about halfway down right now. He said, if you reach that point, you're a dead man. Now I'm going to die from all this? Oh, okay. He said, again, I'm not trying to scare you. Just understand. I've left out a big chunk of the story. But understand that you've got no reason to apologize. Why would I apologize? This stuff is happening to me, and I'm going to apologize for it happening to me? None of it made sense. And I'm sitting here trying to process, and my wheels are turning thousands of miles an hour trying to put all this together. And there's a lot more to it, I think, than probably I'm given, just because of over the years I've left stuff out and forgotten things. But he said, no, you do not have to apologize. He said, and there's only one you'll ever have to answer to. Okay. So he lets me go, and I motioned my wife, come on, let's go to the office. I didn't think there'd even be enough time for my cook to have gotten back up there. He lived a lot further away than what I did. But he had left first. Anyway, part of what the dad had told me, he said, you just had your meeting, and I was taking the daughter. I was taking her home. I got on my street, I hit the brakes and said, get out, run to the house. He said, I got to get back to the store. Andy's in trouble. Why am I in trouble? What did I do? I couldn't process. So he said, and that's why I'm up here. Okay. So he said, you are in a massive battle right now. He said, and you are battling good versus evil. What's in that room is evil. Okay, so Derek's already here? Wow. He got here fast. Yeah, I don't know. We didn't have caller ID or anything back then, so I thought, well, maybe he was here. I still trying to process, still trying to put things up, but he told me that what decisions that I made from here on out would determine the balance of good and evil. Okay, so get my wife. I got to backtrack because I forgot about this. For almost as long as I had been in that store and this guy had been my cook, we would have funny conversations because evidently there's something wrong with taking lava off of the island. Yet, and only the company I remember was Coco Joe's, because we had several of their products on our shelves that we sold to the tourists that came in. So Coco Joe's made ashtrays and all different kinds of knickknacks and things on that were made from lava. But you can't take lava. So part of my argument with him, and I mean, it's been 35 years, okay? This guy's name was Derek. So I don't know why I'm even bothering to keep saying Cook instead of his name. But and I always thought our arguments were in fun. I would say things like, "Oh, okay." I said, "So they can take this ashtray over here because Coco Joe's made it." He said, "Well, they've got permission from who?" And this would go on. I said, "I got it." So you can't go over here and say, "Look at this piece of lava. Is this not amazing?" And just take raw lava. But if you're a company and can make a profit off of manufacturing it into a product, then it's okay. I said, "Okay, I see the logic." And it went back and forth, but it was all in jest. I mean, he never raised his voice, never got upset with me for my crazy way of thinking or anything else. So anyway, this had gone on for quite a spell. All right. So we walk into the office and I shut the door and he looks weird. And all I can think is this guy just told me that evil is in my office. Okay. And I remember uttering something to my wife. If something happens to me, just tell everybody I loved them. And I said something real quick to her on the way in there, and she just pshawed it off and just didn't think much about it. She was kind of angry that somebody was playing a trick on me, and she didn't like being a part of it. So when I closed the door, "Dude, what is going on here?" He goes, "Andy, when I left here, I went straight home." He said, "I got to be back up here at 5 o'clock in the morning." He said, "I grabbed something." He said, "I swallowed dinner real fast." And he said, "I was going to bed." And he said, "Let me back up to last night." He said, "You remember this morning I'm asking you about the seances and stuff?" I said, "Yeah, I thought it was kind of weird, but okay." He said, "Well, last night I'm having a dream." And he said, "And the spirits are dancing around you." And he said, "I'm sitting here and I'm cooking my chicken and everything's going good." And I'm thinking, "Why are y'all doing that?" And he said, "We're going to get Andy." Okay, I mean, this is somebody's dream. Weird, I'm in your dream, okay. But he said, he said, "Something happened." He said, no, they were sitting around me. The spirits were sitting around me. And he asked them, "What are y'all doing?" And they said, "We're having a seance." He said, "What do you mean?" They said, "We're going to get Andy." He said, "I didn't think much about it." He said, "It was just weird. And that was why I asked you what was a seance. And when you told me that, I thought they said they're going to get you." He said, I was trying to piece it together." He said, "But I mean, I barely even got my eyes closed. And I start dreaming and I'm back up here and I'm cooking my chicken." And he said, "They're going around you. You're sitting in your chair just like you were when we were here. And they're all going around you and each one is slapping you as they go by." And that's what I felt. It was, she could see the fingerprints in my face. And now he's saying that the spirits were going around and they were slapping me. But I had to have this weird look on my face. I'm sure I mean, petrified is an understatement. How my heart didn't stop, I don't know. But he said, "They are sick and tired of you." "Who's sick and tired? The spirits in your dream?" He said, "Yeah." He said, "They're all around us and they're tired of it." "They're tired of what?" "I come in here every day. I work my butt off. I don't do anything to make a spirit mad." I mean, why? Because I exist? And he said, "No." He said, they are tired of you making fun of." can't even remember the way he put it. Something making fun of the way things work in the spirit world, I guess, basically because I made fun of the lava thing. I said, man, I said, I'm not making fun of nothing. It just doesn't make sense to me. And when things don't make sense to me, I question it. And you didn't really provide me any answers, and I tried to get you to accept what I was saying in seeing how absurd it was that I cannot view this beautiful piece in its original natural form. That's wrong. But I can go over here to this store. I can go out here and buy whatever it was. I don't remember, but we had something right there on the shelf. And I said, I can go buy that, and that's fine. I said, it just doesn't make sense to me, okay? And he said, well, you're not leaving this island unless you apologize. I said, I don't understand what I've got to apologize for. He said, you insulted them. I said, they're spirits. Who cares? He said, no. He said, you don't understand. You will not make it off of this island if you don't apologize. I just start laughing. I'm so crazed by now. And this is also stupid to me. I said, man, if I offended anybody, I'm sorry. He goes, see, you're still laughing. I said, I'm scared as hell. Of course I'm laughing. I said, that's how I deal with fear. And this went back and forth and back and forth. I said, look, dude, I ain't apologizing. I'm listening to the guy out there that knows everything about me. No, I'm not getting caught in this trap. I said, I'm not apologizing. I said, if somebody's offended, I'm sorry they're offended. Am I sorry for something I said? No way. And now I'm getting angry. My wife has already walked out. She was so ticked off by this. I think she had a better understanding of whatever was going on than I did. But it went on for a couple of more minutes, and he realized that I was not going to apologize. And there was a look that he gave me that just struck me. There's no way to explain it. And as he reached for that door, I was just washed with a sense of accomplishment. I don't really know the way to describe it. And I felt like this is it. This is over. For something that had such almost traumatic consequences for me, to have such a dud of an ending, I thought, wow. I followed him. I stood at the door, and the dad was kind of almost in the middle aisle, right where the flap was in the middle of the counter. He was just standing right there, just to the other side of it, between the flap and the door, probably halfway. But he was not at the front, at the main doors. I watched Derek go out, turned, look at him. It's just a couple of steps, but he opened the thing, and instead of going outside, around him and outside, he went back around, down to the back of the store, across the cooler part, up the wall, and out the door. Okay, what next? So I walked up to the father, and he said, "You didn't apologize." I said, "Sort of, but not really." It was just like, okay, I was sorry that somebody was offended by something I said or did, but that was it. He said, "No, you didn't give him the apology he was looking for." I said, "Okay, so what does that mean?" He said, "You just demolished evil." I said, this just all seems so dramatic for something I still didn't get the whole picture. And he said, you don't, it's sometimes not up to you to understand, but have faith in the knowledge that God is happy with you right now. I just say, wow. And the whole thing, I just, the emotional roller coaster, packed 9 years of hearing that it's going to happen, that 9 years of dinar going to happen, and oh, this has to happen, and that has to happen, and now you think, oh, it's going to happen, and pack all that into about 15 minutes. All the emotion of, yep, dinar's finally going to hit. Dinar's no, oh, nope, nope, yeah. Pack all that into a matter of minutes, and that was the emotional roller coaster I had right then. And I walked away with it thinking, okay, more has got to be revealed to me. I need a better understanding of exactly what I just faced, and what and why it was such a non-climactic result, ending. I expected it to be all of this, if it was going to be so life changing and everything else. And I tell you, it was between 2 and 3 weeks before we actually left, I believe, that this night. The next morning, I came into work. It was like nothing had happened. Nobody's talking about it. He's cooking. He's just as friendly and jovial as he ever was, just as soft spoken as he ever was. About a week or so later, something happened, and both my night people couldn't work. Do you know how hard I tried to get somebody else to take that shift? Money isn't like it was today. $100 was a lot of money. I was offering $100 to anybody that would pick up that shift. They'd get their pay plus $100. I was going to personally give them $100, and no takers. Let me tell you, I went in that night. My heart was beating out to here the whole time. Nothing. Not a thing happened. Okay. Now we're getting on the plane to leave the island. I kept hearing, you're not going to make it off the island if you don't apologize. I even went so far as to try to convince my wife to take a different flight. Not back to the mainland, but over to Oahu. And where we'd catch our flight back to the mainland. I didn't want her to be, I thought if it's going to blow up, if this is going to happen, that's going to happen. I thought I was trying to protect her. At the same time, I was just absolutely petrified. And when that plane started going, I don't know how I didn't have a heart attack. I truly don't. I was so sure that something was going to happen. And that all of this was leading up to, you're not making it off the island. It was some kind of a hint that I didn't take seriously enough, and I just knew. But when that plane left that ground, I'm out of here. 35 years, I've wanted to go back so many times. We've started to go back several times, and I just can't bring myself to go back. The island, Maui, is just an incredibly beautiful place. The road to Hana is one that everybody should experience. It takes 3 hours to go 30 miles, and at the time there were 50 one-lane bridges, which most of those were on the edge of a cliff. And and then once you get out to Hana Bay, Haleakala, absolutely gorgeous. Lahaina, you can have a lot of fun. The Fisherman's Wharf, it was the party side of of Maui, and went over there a few times in the evenings and just had a blast. Just there's so many different things on that island, and beauty does not describe that island. It's phenomenal. But we ended up coming back home, and the rest is much more boring than that. But I mean, there's been some good times, been some bad times, been some highlights, been some lowlights. But the Hawaii story, and I did myself an injustice by not writing everything down back when it happened, because I know I've left out a lot. But now you know why I believe in spirits, and you know why I trust in God. And I mean, not just that, put my trust in God, but it seemed that He confirmed it for me. And everybody always talks about having a special God given gift or God given talent. Or you've got a purpose. I've never figured out what my purpose was. In thinking what my plans are with Dinar, or with this group, and with everything that I'm doing, and I have a lot of conversations with God, and I think that my purpose has not come about yet. I think my purpose is coming. And that's why I have the utmost faith that something is going to come of this. I truly believe it. I don't think that I'm destined to leave this earth without accomplishing something in His glory. And I'm just going to keep taking it day by day. And when this finally happens, He's going to guide me into doing something phenomenal, whether it's me or us as a group or what, I don't know yet. But I think I haven't seen the end of some amazing work that is going to be done through me. And I just take each day one day at a time. I've learned not to question too much and too often, because things are going to work out. I know where I sit. I know where I'm going. And I know a lot more than I want to let myself believe I know at times. And God is good all the time. Whether I understand or not makes no difference. So I'm just going to go with the flow and see what more He has in store for me. So I appreciate for those that wanted to listen to this, and for those that got this far into listening to me ramble and go on with a story that has no major climax. Well, it does. I just haven't seen it yet. God bless you all.